Okay. So we want to learn more about planning and control of inventories. Now, inventory forms key part of the current assets of an entity, and it also forms very key part of the day-to-day operations of any business, and it's one of the areas where we have continuous decision making. And basically, when you speak of inventory, some other people may call it this stock, okay? They can call it stock, but basically it's the same thing. Now, when it is inventory, of course, we are not only speaking about finished goods, but we are speaking about raw materials, work in progress, and then the finished goods as well, okay? If it's a manufacturing company, inventory could also mean, for example, manufacturing components as well, okay? So we may need to basically know that. Now, we know very well that inventory also forms a huge part of any organization's cost, okay? We incur a lot of cost in acquiring inventory because inventory is the business. If you're dealing, for example, let's say your retail shop, you know very well that inventory forms a large part of your working capital, okay? Most of your money is actually held up in inventory. Now, if inventory is not planned very well, if we don't control inventory rightly, we find ourselves in scenarios where we are either overstocked or understocked. And then also one of the things that we also need to understand is we have two categories of inventory costs. We have what we call ordering costs of inventory, and then we also have holding costs of inventory, okay? Now, when it comes to ordering costs, by ordering cost, we look at costs that are incurred in bringing inventory to the company premises, okay? And this could involve, for example, this could be logistics, transport, okay, for the inventory. This could be communications, maybe with the supplier. This could also be freight, in case inventory is being flied in. This could also include even custom taxes as well, okay? Anything that brings inventory, CIF, okay? Of course, insurance as well. Now, all those costs are part of ordering cost for inventory, and companies incur them. Now, the higher, of course, the higher the number of times of ordering, of course, the higher the ordering costs, okay? And that is why you see, for you to save on the ordering costs, then you have to reduce on the number of times that you order. If, for example, you need, let's say 100 cartons of inventory, maybe within a month, instead of ordering 10 cartons 10 times, you may choose to order a single batch and it comes all the 100 at once. Now that reduces, of course, the reduction also comes because you utilize, there are what we call economies of scale that you're utilizing because you bring in inventory, okay? So we have the ordering costs. Now with the ordering costs, companies always aim at ordering in bulk, okay, to save on any kind of money that might be incurred on having routine orders. So companies aspire to order as much as they can in bulk. But then as we order in bulk, the other cost element is the holding cost, okay? Holding cost means the cost that we incur in holding this inventory at our premises, okay? Now, the higher the inventory size, of course, the higher the holding costs. And the holding cost could be costs, for example, around, it could be the cost of the warehouse, the rent of the warehouse. It could be maybe salaries to store stuff. It could also, for example, be, let's say, insurance as well. You may insure your stock. You remember we looked at insurance at ordering stage, but they could also go ahead to insure your stock at the point in time when you're holding it. We also could have a cost like obsolescence. Okay, by obsolescence means we are holding this inventory today, and this inventory can actually maybe become outdated, maybe because due to changes in technology. We could also have, of course, damages as well, spoilages and thefts. Those are also costs that we may incur by holding inventory. We may also, of course, other costs that maybe we might also incur, lighting, utilities. Some kind of inventory requires certain kind of environment for it to be stored. If you're working with the laboratories, you know very well that if you're keeping medicine, I think like the way we saw the coronavirus, the corona vaccine, how it is kept in certain kind of temperatures. So it's the same thing. So the higher the kind of inventory you're holding, the higher of those related costs. Now, as we have seen, it's very good for companies to order much at once, okay? But as well as they order much at once, they are saving on the ordering costs. But again, there is a conflict when it comes to holding. The higher the stock again you have, the higher the holding costs. So when we are speaking about planning and control of inventory, we want to make a balance between your holding costs and then your holding costs as well as your ordering costs, because you don't want either to go to have higher holding costs or to have higher either ordering or holding costs. Okay, that is why we have different inventory systems that we deal with, even as we do what, even as we work with inventory. Okay, so that is what I can say. Now, of course, inventory, of course, is less so much in the service organizations. Service organizations may just have things like maybe stationery. Stationery could be part of inventory. They could just have, for example, maybe machine equipment, just in case. Yeah, but it's less. Of course, it's less important to service organize because we don't have a lot of inventory right there. Okay, yeah. So this is why we do study the planning and control, is to find an optimum level that of course helps us to save on what, on the holding costs and the ordering costs, because the higher the quantity that is, of course, the higher the quantity that is held, the higher the holding costs. But in the same way, we cannot avoid now holding much unless we say we are ordering less, because as we order less, we again incur more ordering costs. So we have to make sure that we are holding a level of inventory that is optimal in nature, that will help us save on costs, but also I think will also help us because we also have other costs that come to do with us not having inventory. Okay, for example, when you if you don't have inventory, like if you run out of your inventory, you have different costs that the company might incur, and those could be of course failed contracts with customers where you need to maybe reimburse a given customer because you cannot serve them certain kind of supplies. Of course, you can also lose customers. Reliability. Some customers are very critical when it comes to reliability, especially when it comes to supply of inventory. Of course, you could you could also have machine redundancy, and also redundancy in staff when you don't have let's say raw materials, and all those come with you not having inventory. So yours every day as a management accountant is to help the organization find an optimal level of inventory where the organization is not running out of inventory. Okay, and as it's not running out of inventory, it is also not holding a lot of it in the premises. Okay, so that is why it's it's very key. So why do firms, of course, hold inventory like we've seen? Comes from the perspective of the importance of having more inventory, okay? Of course, when you have more inventory, you're able to meet the demand as it comes. If a customer orders, you already have the goods in there, so you're able to provide them, okay? And then, of course, you're also able to absorb any variances. Today you have, let's say, maybe on monthly, people demand 10, let's say maybe 10 cartons of let's say milk. But maybe because there is a party around the corner, you see people, one person coming to come and take the whole 10 cartons. So that would mean that you create a deficiency or a deficit for the rest of the customers. So once you have enough inventory, it's able to meet such variances that might arise along the way, okay? And then, of course, the other is to provide buffer between production processes, okay? This is so much, especially when it comes to raw materials. Now, you know that if you're moving, if you have a systematic production process, you want to make sure that once goods move from one process to the other, you don't run out of, let's say, raw materials at one level, okay? You want to make sure that there's, of course, there's a buffer that is already, there's always something work in progress. That even when, let's say, you have a challenge in supplies, there's something that can cover up. You have something that can keep you going, okay? Of course, to also, to make sure that you cut off any inefficiencies that might come around by you not having enough inventory, okay? The other reasons why we may go ahead to hold more inventory is, of course, take advantage of the bulk purchasing discounts. Now, the bulk purchasing discounts, these are very common when it comes to some suppliers. Some suppliers say when you buy, let's say, this given quantity, then you get a 10% discount. So for organizations to take part of such discounts, they go ahead to basically accept to buy in bulk so that they can enjoy those discounts. And then, of course, the other is to meet any possible shortages in the future. I think COVID has taught us a lesson, okay? If you're a person who's running a business, or you're part of any organization that imports goods from, let's say, China, or imports goods from US, or imports goods from any other country, you know very well that the uncertainties in the future sometimes cause shortages, okay? So a farm would, you see some organizations right now, they can basically go, if they know that's their main business, they are not afraid to buy stock that can run them for the full year, okay? And you reach them and they say, we already stocked for the whole of the year. And this is just for any circumstances. Because if you have a shop, let's say in Ginger, remember, anytime Kampala can be cut off and you cannot access it. So you need some of these materials to be able to keep on going. So for you to make sure that you can keep on going, then you should hold inventory, okay? And also to absorb seasonal fluctuations in usage or demand. This is very similar to absorbing variations. Yes, you can have seasonal valuations, fluctuations, for example, if you're dealing in products that relate with festive seasons, then you want to make sure that you hold enough inventory to cater for such circumstances. You can also, of course, if it's festive season, you can also have, maybe if you're dealing in items that are school related, so their demand is high when schools are open, and so on. And then, of course, to enable production processes to flow smoothly and efficiently, you know very well what happens, especially when there is no stock, okay? It means that everything will come to a standstill, stuff will become redundant, the machines will stop, and because you have no raw materials. So to ensure that you have a smooth flow process that is flowing from the input of raw materials to the finished goods, even to be able to meet the demand of the customer, maybe it's a daily demand, then you have to have enough inventory in your premises. And then, of course, as necessary to be part of, as a necessary part of the production process, for example, when it comes to wine, like for example, whiskey. Wine requires, the more you hold the wine, the more it becomes of more value, okay? So organizations will hold inventory for that matter, for that they are trying to meet the conditions of the product, okay? So they buy a lot of wine in bulk, so that when when they keep it for a long period of time, it is maturing, so that by the time they want to sell, they have something to be able to sell, okay? So instead of waiting and buying it maybe when they need, so they buy it in advance for such a purpose, okay? Yeah. So we, like I said, we have what we call, of course, we have relevant costs for inventory, and we usually use these models, relevant cost models, even for times of uncertainty, okay? Now, of course, one of the things that you should basically be knowing is, of course, like I said, the holding costs, as well as the ordering costs. Those are the key costs that we have for inventory. Now, I earlier gave you a breakdown on what could be holding costs, and I said this could be, for example, of course, by holding costs, we are trying to speak of if costs that you incur at, let's say, at the business premise for keeping a given inventory. So it could be opportunity cost of investment in inventories. Now, what they mean by this means that, you know, when you hold inventory, you're holding cash. You've invested cash in this inventory. So it means that you opportunity cost, you're foregoing the returns that you would have gotten from this amount of money. Let's say if maybe this amount of money had been used for something different, okay? So that is why they say opportunity cost of investment. The money that you've put in inventory could have been used for something else, maybe to generate more returns. So that difference, it alone, it's an opportunity cost that any organization has to take considerations for. Then the other is, of course, the incremental insurance cost. Like I said, organizations have also adopted the aspect of insuring inventory, and this is because you can have any fire breaks, you can have, of course, the obsolescence I talked about, you can have theft. Now, any insurance move around inventory to keep it safe or to avoid unnecessary losses is an extra cost that should be considered as a holding cost. And then, of course, we have the incremental warehouse and storage costs, and this could be rent, okay? This could, for example, rent for the warehouse, could be lighting, could be water, okay? Electricity, and so on. And then we have, of course, the incremental material handling costs, okay? Like I said, you can have, for example, storekeepers who are part of your premises who hold this kind of inventory. You can have machines, okay? I think you've seen some robots in some warehouses. There are also those vehicles that you put on inventory, maybe move it from one place to the other. Now, all those costs are costs that should be embedded within the cost of holding inventory. And then, of course, I talked about the cost of obsolescence, or deterioration of inventory that might come as a result of changes in technology that makes some of the inventory that you hold in your premises, say, outdated, and you need to be able to provide another, let's say, another kind of inventory that matches the new technology advancements, okay? So that is what happens with the holding cost. So, of course, holding cost, like I indicated, varies, of course, with the level of inventories, okay? And we want to say, of course, that, of course, the higher the level of inventory, the higher the holding costs, okay? So it keeps varying. Like I said, of course, we also have, for example, we could also have these other costs, like, for example, salary of storekeeper, depreciation of equipment, fixed rent and equipment and buildings. which may be considered irrelevant, okay, because they are unaffected by the level of inventory. Now, what they are saying here, the relevant holding costs, those are the ones that vary according to the level of inventory directly. And then we have some holding costs that are a bit irrelevant in nature that remain the same even with different levels of inventory, okay? Because you're not going to, if you're not increasing a storekeeper's salary, if you're holding maybe 10 bags and then maybe you're holding, let's say, maybe 20 bags, this person will still take home, let's say, the same salary, okay? Of course, there are reservations on that. Depreciation of equipment, also the same thing. Also the fixed rent of equipment, in case you have an equipment, maybe a fridge, okay? And then we also have a building. So we are calling this relevant because for these, you may not basically have to go ahead to change them with the change in inventory, okay? Yeah, so that is very key for us. Now, yeah, I talked of the opportunity cost of holding inventory. And I say that, like we've indicated up, the money we've invested in the inventory could have been used for maybe another investment. You could have invested maybe in treasury bills and be able to get a return. Especially during this time, I want to tell you that there are companies that are struggling with inventory, which inventory is not moving. If you're a school and invested in, let's say, chalk and other learning materials for your school, and the schools are not closed right now, schools are struggling with such kind of inventory, and there's a opportunity cost that should be taken into consideration in such circumstances, okay? Yeah, so so that is all when it comes to, of course, the holding costs. Let's just look at, of course, the ordering costs, which could, at the point of time when inventory is coming at the premises, like we earlier talked, it could be around the CIF, looking at freight insurance, okay, costs that, of course, we incur. It could be around logistics and so on, okay? So when it comes to, of course, when it comes to ordering costs, we also have, of course, we have those that may be relevant and also those that may not be relevant. Definitely, any cost that is relevant in our decision making are those costs that vary with the change in let's say, in the size of the order, okay? Those are the costs. When it comes to other costs, for example, if it's let me see, yeah, maybe the salary of the procurement person, it could be part of the ordering costs, but no matter the size of the order, you're not going to keep varying maybe the salary of the procurement person, okay? So good for us to take that in consideration. Then, of course, we are saying that, of course, the cost of acquiring inventory through buying or manufacturing for it is not a relevant cost to be included in the quantitative models, since we know that this cost acquisition will remain the same. And this we mean is that if you're buying, let's say, you're dealing, let's say, in phones, okay? Now, the cost of the phone itself will remain unchanged. But what is going to differ is the cost of transport, of bringing in the phone, maybe the cost of communications and so on. It could be the cost of, let's say, the cost of the insurance cost as this kind of stock is coming in. And that is why you see every time we speak of ordering costs, you definitely realize that the ordering cost excludes the cost of the inventory, okay? Because in this case here, that cost is being considered to be to be not relevant to decision making. Yes, it's a cost that is incurred, but when it comes to planning of inventory, it is something that we don't consider much. All that we want to look at are those costs that we can easily manage. Okay. Yeah. So that is why it's not the acquisition cost is therefore not a relevant cost, but what we're looking at is the ordering and holding costs, which are relevant when it comes to the decision making. Okay. So, like, of course, we may also have of course, quantity discounts that may be available to the farm if we order in large quantities. Now, in this case, it means that the acquisition costs will not be constant. Okay. In this case, of course, in this case, we'll now take into consideration this aspect of discounts. If at all we have changes into our cost of acquisition of inventory, now this time it will be relevant. Now we have different techniques also of inventory control. We have different techniques of inventory control that we shall be looking at as we proceed through. We have the two bin system. The two bin system is basically you have one bin. You have like two sets of inventory, and you've put them in terms of bins. By bins means like categories. So you can have warehouse 1 and warehouse 2. Now, the reason why it is called a two bin system is that once you wait for one warehouse, you use one warehouse, and when it gets done, before you even start using the second warehouse, you now start ordering, so that by time between the ordering time and the time of the new delivery, you're using now your store at number 2 to cover you during this time. Okay, so it's like you have one inventory kind of container which you utilize. Once it gets done, you order, and between the time of order and the time of delivery, you have another container that you're consuming during that time. So that is why it's called a two bin system. Okay, we shall look at more of this in details. The ABC analysis, we just looked at the ABC, the activity-based costing. We have the order cycling system. We have the determining of stock or level stock inventory levels. We have the most common one, which is the economic order quantity, which we shall just look at shortly. We have the inventory turnover ratios. Okay. We also have perpetual inventory systems. We have the just-in-time. Just-in-time is also common. With just-in-time, of course, you order inventory as it is needed in the organization. Basically, this is when it comes to just-in-time, you're trying to make sure that you reduce your holding costs to minimum. You're not holding stock in your inventory. Okay. So that is what exactly happens in that case. Then, of course, we have the material requirements planning, which we shall be looking at even as we proceed. Okay. Now we have what we call the economic order quantity, which is usually, of course, the optimal level of inventory that minimizes both holding and ordering costs. Okay, so we are going to see how we can basically determine that. At the economic order quantity, basically the holding cost is equal to our ordering cost. Okay, we are going to see how to come up with this. Let me just try to first get to our formula. Okay, let me try to calculate something for you here. I want to show you how to calculate the EOQ and how EOQ comes in the economic order quantity. So we have what we call the holding costs, and then we have the ordering costs. Okay. So we now have understood what holding costs are, and we also trying to understand what the ordering costs could be. Okay. So EOQ from its word is economic order quantity. You must have interfaced this maybe either at your degree level or whatever, but basically it's one of the most common inventory models that helps the organization, of course, make sure that we optimizing inventory cost. It's basically, like we've seen, there's a conflict between holding and ordering, because if we want to save holding costs, it means we have to order many times, so we shall incur many ordering costs. If at all we want to minimize on the ordering costs, and that means we shall have more inventory in our premises, and it means that we shall incur more holding costs. Okay, so that is where because of the conflict that this model comes in to be able to help us. Okay, yeah. So just give me a minute, a little, just try to get something here. Okay, so so we want now to understand how does this model run of us making sure that we have an optimal level of inventory. Okay, now before we get down to the EOQ model, I want us to try to generate the formulas of the holding costs. Now, what we need to know here, let me call this Q, in case my economic order quantity is considered Q in this area. What we are saying is, what is our inventory? Okay, now if at all maybe our level of inventory, let's say, is 2 throughout the period, what we are saying is that what would be our average holding cost maybe for the overall period, maybe from January to December. Okay, because remember, you have different levels of inventory. You have maybe some stock you start with, and then it gets done again, you order another inventory, and then you sell it, and then you order, like that is what happens. So averagely, if maybe this is Q is the inventory that maybe you hold at a given point in time. Okay, So averagely, your average inventory is, it could be 2/2. Okay, I think you know what to get average. And here I'm trying to look at your inventory moves from 0 to 2 and back. Okay, it keeps basically going up. It keeps going up and then coming down, going up and coming down. Maybe I'll be able to demonstrate this much easier if I had a graph. So ideally, your inventory is either 0 at one point in time and then it is 2. It keeps between those levels. So it means that on average, your average inventory is considered to be at 2/2. Okay. Now, if your average inventory is considered to be at 2/2, and also let's say your unit holding cost is considered to be, let's refer it as CH. Okay, maybe it is CH. Now, what this means is that if I want to get the overall holding cost for the period, okay, the overall inventory cost for the period, it will basically equal to the 2/2 multiplied by the unit inventory cost, okay, of holding inventory. So it will be 2/2 times CH, where CH is the holding cost per unit. Okay, so ideally this would give us an estimate of how much would be our holding cost for such inventory. Okay, so this is the kind of assumption that we make when we are generating the formula for our holding costs. So as is to assume that inventory is moving from level of 0 to level of 2. Okay, and that's why we are saying that as it's moving from let's say level of 0 to 2, the average inventory will basically be 2/2. Okay, and then our unit holding cost, we are considering it to be CH. So it means that our total holding cost will be that 2/2 times CH. Now, when it comes, of course, when it comes to ordering costs, for us to derive the formula of ordering costs, we have to look at two things. Okay, now the first thing that we look at is demand. Remember, the demand affects how much we are ordering. Okay, and demand is denoted to be D in this case. Now, the other that we also look at when it comes to here, of course, is the quantity in order. Or what you can call the order quantity, okay, which is Q. Okay, now if this is the quantity that we order and this is the demand, if I want to find maybe the number of orders that I make in a given period, this is demand, and this could be your annual demand. So it means that if I want to get my number of orders, this will be, it will be D, okay? It will be D divided by, of course, Q. This will be my number of orders that I order, okay? Because if, for example, let me give you an example. For example, if I have my total demand is, let's say, 100, Okay. If I order, let's say I order this in terms of 10, it means that I'll now order maybe 10 times. So the number of orders will now be 10. Okay. So I believe you get the principle. Now, if I now want to get, because remember the ordering costs are per single order. Okay. So if at all, this is my ordering cost per unit. If my ordering cost per unit is, let's say, I'm going to call it CO. Okay. If this is my ordering cost per each time I order, or per, okay, per each quantity size that I order, it means that my total ordering costs will equal to, it will be the D out of Q times CO. Sorry, let me just remove this equal sign. So this is how it will be. Now, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to multiply this, okay? Maybe let's call this per order so that you understand it. So this is my number of orders that I order in a year, okay? If this is my annual demand and this is the quantity that I order routinely, means that number of orders that I have will be the D, the demand, divided by the quantity that I order every time. So that is able to give me the number of orders. Now, when I multiply this by the ordering costs per order, which is CO, I'm able to get my total ordering costs for the year, okay, or for the given period, which I'm referring to as D over Q times CO, okay? As you can see, when it came to holding costs, what I multiplied by CH was the average inventory. And the reason why it was the average inventory is because the charge for holding costs is basically dependent on the size of the inventory that I'm holding at a given point in time, which is totally different when it comes to the ordering cost. For the ordering costs, the kind of the factor, the multiplier factor that affects the size of the ordering cost is on the number of orders, okay, which is the demand divided by the quantity that you order, okay? So giving us this. Now, what EOQ says, the economic order quantity model says, of course, it says that, of course, first of the thing is that it assumes that total costs, okay, will be the total holding costs, plus, of course, the total ordering costs. Remember, here we are trying to look at the relevant costs, okay? So that is why we are leaving out the acquisition of inventory, okay? We leave out the acquisition of inventory. Now, for us to be able to definitely, of course, generate our formula, okay? For us to be able to generate our formula of inventory, just try to show you something here. At EOQ, our holding costs our holding cost is equal to our ordering costs. Okay, and I want to illustrate this for you. Let me see if this can allow me. Allow me try to use this and see if it comes. I want to draw for you a graph so you can see. So if that is my graph. Now I'm going to show you how of course how the annual the different costs will be. Now, from what we saw, from the formula we've seen for the holding costs, this is how for the holding cost will be. The holding cost will have this graph. Now, this is you can call this annual cost. Okay, just consider this axis to be annual cost, so I don't take a lot of time. And then consider this to be your quantity. Okay, so for when it comes to the holding costs, this is how they react when it comes to quantity. Okay, it has a straight line. And why it has a straight line? When you come to, let me just try to show you. When you come here up, remember this was our formula for the total holding costs. And we say that this is equal to Q over 2 times CH. Now, why we are seeing a straight line is that the higher the quantity, the higher the holding costs. And they have a it's directly proportional. So that is why it's a straight line, okay? It's basically, for example, if for example, our CH was constant, maybe CH, let's say it is 2, okay? Maybe our CH is 2. You're going to see if I have this as my quantity and I have this as, let's say, my total holding costs. This is what will happen. If my quantity will be 1, okay? If my quantity is 1, my holding costs, if I substitute here to be a half times 2, actually a half times 2 will definitely be 1, okay? If I'm just substituting 1 in this formula, I'm putting where there's 2, I'm putting 1 and 2 remains there. And then okay, actually it will be, yes, 1 over 2 times 2, which is a CH, to give you that. So let's try with 2. So if it is 2, it means to be 2 over 2 times 2, which will give me 2, okay? If it was, let's say, 3, so it will be 3 over 2, okay, times 2, which will give me 3 over 2 times 2, which will give me 3, okay? So you can see that as it goes, as it increases, this one also increases. Maybe I used 2 and 2 may not bring it out very clearly, but as you can see, as quantity increases, also the holding cost increases. So that is why we have a straight line when it comes to the holding costs. Now, when it comes to the other cost, which is the ordering costs. Now, for it, this is how it looks like. For it, it is like this. Okay, it is curvish in nature. So, just a moment. Okay, I'm not achieving the curve very well, but it falls like that. It keeps on falling, and why it keeps on falling is that as quantity goes on increasing, the cost reduces. And why this happens is that as you order in larger quantities, the ordering cost keeps on reducing, because it means you're going to save what you needed to, let's say, to hire two maybe vehicles, maybe after every month. You now order one vehicle that will deliver, for example, for the 6 months. Okay, so the ordering cost will be a little lower. Okay, so that can that is how you, of course, how this other ordering costs will look like. It is curvish in nature. This may not bring it out, but consider it as curvish in nature. Now, the EOQ is looked at as this point in time, this point of where the holding cost is meeting the ordering costs. Okay, so that is the level where we have the optimum level of the inventory costs at this point in time. Okay, so that is why when we are calculating our EOQ model, what we basically say, what we say that at EOQ, the holding cost line is meeting the ordering cost line. So it means that from these formulas, what we shall have is, we shall have D, okay, our total holding costs up, we saw, was Q over 2 times CH. So Q over 2 times CH. We are saying that this is equal directly to D over Q times CO. Okay, we call this small h. So at EOQ, this is true. Okay, so if this is true, what we basically do is to go ahead to work around this formula to basically make Q the subject. Okay, we basically make Q the subject. Maybe I may demonstrate it better here for the non-mathematicians to know. So this is what I have. I have Q. And then I have 2. Let me put this in the middle like that. So I have this, and this 2 over this 2 up is being multiplied by CH. Okay, and we are saying this one is equal to, I'm just trying to change it a little so that we can see how we can cross multiply accordingly. So this is D times CO divided by Q. Okay, so you can see this is how what looks like. Now, for us to make Q the subject, definitely we shall cross multiply. We shall multiply this times this, okay, and this will give us of course it will give us Q squared it will give us 2 squared. Okay. I want to, okay, let me just call it 2 squared. What's that? That's 2 squared, the 2 times 2. And of course, CH will still be multiplied. So 2 squared times CH, or 2 squared CH, okay? And then this will now equal to 2D CO. 2D CO. So what I've basically done, I've multiplied this 2 times the this times CO, and I've also multiplied this 2 times the 2 times CH, okay? To be able to come to something like this, where we have Q2 times CH is equal to 2D times 2DCO, okay? And if I'm to modify this, since this is 2 squared, okay, now I'll remain with 2 squared this side. So I'll have 2 squared equal. Now I'm going to divide all this side. So this will be 2DCO, okay? And this alone will be divided by CH, like that, okay? So since this is 2 squared, if I want to only have 2, I'll say my 2 will now equal to, if I have a symbol here, it gets tough when you're using, so it will be square root of 2DCO, okay? CH. So this square root is on everything here. This square root here, as you can see, it's on everything, on the 2DCO divided by CH. So basically this is what generates this formula that we've just been looking at here. Let me show you how this formula is written, so that okay. I'll be able to include that in the notes for you, basically to see how exactly it would look like. But I believe that you can understand. Now, one of the things that you need to understand is that this EOG formula that we've just derived has certain kind of assumptions to it, okay? It has certain assumptions to it. And some of the assumptions that we have when it comes to the EOQ model, now, it assumes that we know the stock holding cost, which was our CH, okay? So it assumes that we know our holding cost. Then it also assumes that we have a constant ordering cost. That is why we have a CO that we've highlighted in our formula, so that the CH and the CO don't change, okay? When it comes to our formulas, as we've seen, this CO and CH do not change, okay? So that is what the assumption assumes. And then also, it also assumes that the rates of demand are known. That is why we have the D, okay? And the D came from our ordering costs. And then it also assumes, of course, that there's a known constant price per unit, okay? It assumes there's a constant price per unit. Then it also assumes that the replenishment are made instantaneously, i.e., the whole batch is delivered at once, okay? And that would mean that also there are no stock outs that are allowed. These are the assumptions. And these are to help the formula work better. Now, just like the way you work with any other models, these assumptions are also limitations in their own, okay? If, for example, a question comes and asks you, what are the different limitations of the EO2 model, then you're able to bring these points in a way that is limiting, okay? For example, when it say the assumption here, there is a known constant stock holding cost, you can go ahead to say that the limitation is that sometimes the stock holding cost is hard to determine, or it's not easy to determine. Not every organization has the right systems to be able to compute the holding costs, okay? Because it's a composition of different costs. The same thing with the ordering costs. And also the same thing, it cannot be constant, okay? The stock holding cost may not be constant, maybe because there are changing variations in terms of maybe rent of where you put this inventory. There could be cases of bills being higher in 1 month and higher the other maybe period. So it's not constant. So that's the limitation it's on. The same thing with ordering costs. This also change depending on the cost that you're incurring when it comes to bringing in goods. This also vary. Transport rates keep on changing. For example, recently after the legislation, after the tax amendments that I think brought more tax on fuel, they increased the fuel. So it means that your ordering costs will differ. If you had ordered partly at the start in the first 6 months of the year, then you're going to have another kind of cost structure when it comes to the next period. And then of course there is also since it considers a constant price per unit, this is a limitation in its own, because ideally prices don't be constant like this, okay? We live in an economy where prices keep on changing. Today something is at 5,000, the next day it is at 6,000, the next day is at 7,000, based on the demand and supply, okay? So the limitation is that not every time that prices will be constant. Market forces of demand and supply will influence these prices, and these prices will keep on changing, okay? And then also, since that assumes a replenishment will be instantaneous, definite replenishment is not instantaneous. In sometimes there could be delays, maybe due to unreliability suppliers, okay, unreliable suppliers, sorry. It could be maybe due to delays in flights and so on, okay, if you're importing. So if delivery is not as instantaneous as it can be, okay, there could be cases where you may have delays in, of course, in replenishment, and that would cause stock outs as well, which are not allowed when it comes to this model, okay? So the key principle with this model that it assumes that at the economic order quantity, the holding costs are actually equal to the ordering costs, okay? And it's assumed that at that level, it's when we have the optimal total inventory cost, okay? Yeah. Now we have a question here that can help us to see how to utilize this model to calculate accordingly. some of the levels of inventory. Okay, so they are saying a company has annual demand for material P to be at 25,000 tons per annum. So this is the demand. Okay, they're saying the cost price per carton is worthy 2,000. The cost price for per carton is worth 2,000, and the stock holding cost is 25% of the stock value. Okay, then the delivery cost per batch is shillings 400. So the question is saying required, calculate the economic order quantity. Okay, remember what our economic order quantity formula is. It is square root. It is the square root of 2DCO divided by CH. Okay. Now, if you have a formula that, if you have a question that is requiring you to calculate any of these, yours is first look around and say, since I'm looking for economic order quantity, yours is first look for demand. Say, what is my demand in the question? Okay. What is my CO? CO, we are meaning the ordering costs. Okay. What is my CH? Which is the cost of holding. Okay. So those are the parameters that we should be looking out for. So in our question here, the demand they have given us, the demand is 25,000 tons per annum. Okay. This is 25,000 tons per annum. So say this is 25,000 tons. So now I want the CO, the ordering cost per unit. They're saying the cost price per carton is worth 2,000. Okay. The cost price per carton is worth 2,000. Now I don't need the cost price when I'm calculating the order quantity. But the reason why they have given us this cost price is because they have gone ahead to say that the stock holding cost is 25% per annum of the stock value. Okay. So if I want to calculate the stock holding cost, I have to first calculate the stock value. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll say stock value. Now, from the information that we've been given, we have the stock is worth 25,000 tons. Okay. Yours is to find out and see what is the price per ton. The price per ton they have given us to be at 2,000. So this would mean that if I want to get the stock value, it will be 25,000 times 2,000. Okay, which definitely this will be, let me just try to get the answer here. This will be about it's 50 million. So it will be 50 million. So they are saying the holding cost, the stock holding cost is 25% per annum of the stock value. Okay. So what I'm going to basically do is I'm going to, if I want to get the holding cost, they are telling me that this will be 25% times the 50 million. Okay, which gives me, this will give me 12,500. So 12,500, these are my total holding costs. Okay, these are my total holding costs. Now, since I value my inventory per carton, remember in this formula, what I'm looking for is not the total holding cost. I want the unit holding cost. Okay, so the holding cost per unit, I mean per the units that I use in my inventory. So we've seen that our inventory unit is tons. So if I want to get, I want to get my CO, which would be the holding cost per carton. Holding cost per carton. Holding cost per carton will be the 12,500. The 12,500, 12 million, that divided by the number of cartons, which is 25,000. Okay, 25,000, and this will give me definitely, this will give me 500. So 500 is my holding cost per unit. So I'll record it here, 500, like that. Okay. Now the other that I want to make sure that I also, sorry, this is CH, just to note. So CH is 500. Now the ordering costs, I go back to the question and see they are telling me that the delivery cost per batch is shillings 400. So they have also gone ahead to give me the ordering cost per batch. The word delivery cost is the same thing as ordering. Okay, the delivery cost is the same thing as the ordering cost. So that is 400. So I'll go ahead to note the 400 right here. Okay, so once I have that, once I do have that values, I'll now come and substitute in my formula. So my formula is that so Q will equal to, now I'm going to distribute, I'm going to put 2 times the demand. The demand given to us is 25,000 cartons. So I'll put 25,000, and then I'm going to multiply. I'm going to multiply this by CO, which is 400. Okay, and then I'm going to divide overall. I'm going to divide this by how much? By 500. Okay, like that. So whatever I get should basically give me my quantity. Okay, should basically give me my quantity. Okay, so basically let's just get what will be inside here. Let me just try to calculate it here. 2 times 25,000, then times 400 gets me to about 20 million, and this 20 million is being divided by 500, gets me to 40,000. The square root of 40,000, the square root of 40,000 is 200. Okay, when you multiply 200 times 200, you get 40,000. So you end up, when you press your calculator, you end up, I think, with inventory of what? 200. So your EOQ, economic order quantity, will actually be 200 cartons. Remember, 200 tons. Remember, their unit ton, okay, their unit quantity is in tons. Okay, you don't have to change this to kilograms. Okay, if you're working in tons, you work in tons. So that is why we've been able to get the 200. Okay, so that is what happens with calculating EOQ. Okay, so just to repeat a little, like I said, for every question that is requiring you to calculate the economic order quantity, look out for these things: the demand, the costs of ordering per unit, and then the cost of holding per unit. Okay, once you have them, then you're able to substitute them in this formula, and then you're able to calculate. The reason why we had to go along the way to this is because the question itself had the cost of holding inventory was hidden, and it was hidden in terms that we had to first calculate the stock value and then get 25% of it to get the total holding cost, and then from that we would be able to get the holding cost per unit, which is tons. Okay, so that is what we'll basically do. Now we have another example here that says the purchase price of inventory is 25 shillings per unit. Remember, when we are calculating EOQ, the purchase price is irrelevant, but sometimes it is provided for you to be able to determine other, it helps you to determine either CH or CO or demand, okay, depending. So they are saying in 3 months period, the usage of the item is 20,000 units. So this is like the demand, okay? So the demand is 20,000 units. Then they are giving us, they're saying the annual holding cost associated with 1 unit equates to 6% of its purchase price. So that is the reason why they have given us this purchase price. It's for you to get the 6% of this multiplied by 25 to get the holding cost per unit. In this case, they have even given it to you, okay? Then they are saying the cost of placing an order for an item is 20 shillings, okay? So you have the CO here, okay? After getting 6% times 25, you should be able to get your what? Your CH. And then you have your demand, which is the 20,000 units. So you should be able to feed this in your formula and be able to get your economic order quantity, okay, as it is. Now, you see, EOQ can also come with discounts, okay? We can have EOQ come with discounts. And what we are seeing here is often possible to negotiate quantity discounts on the purchase price if bulk orders are placed, okay? Now, if a quantity discount is accepted, it has its effects. One, that discount will affect the price, and the price will be affected in a way that it will decrease. How does it decrease? If there's a purchase discount, usually they will tell you that if you purchase, let's say, maybe 10,000 units, then you'll take a 10%, okay, discount. So it means that that 10% is on the purchase price. So that's why we are saying every time we have discounts, the purchase price will do what? Will decrease. Then we have what we call the annual holding costs. Now, the annual holding costs will increase. The reason why this will increase is that if you're taking on discounts, it means you're ordering in bulk, okay? You're ordering in bulk, and that would mean that you're going to have more stock in your warehouse, okay? Which means that you're going to incur more holding costs. So that is why holding costs will increase with quantity discounts. Remember, these are quantity discounts, which are attracting you to order more. At the end of the day, that is replicating into having your holding costs increase, okay? Now, the reason why annual ordering costs will decrease is because you have quantity discounts. Instead of ordering, let's say, 10,000 units, and maybe you can order 1 million units and enjoy the discounts, you're going to order 1 million units and you will not need to order during for the next maybe 6 months or next 1 year, okay? So at the end of the day, that will help you reduce on the ordering costs, okay? So that's why every time you have quantity discounts, the ordering costs will go down. They will go down because the number of orders will reduce, because you want to order once so that you enjoy the discounts. So at the end of the day, that will reduce also in terms of how often you do order, okay? Yeah. So that is what happens. So Now, for us, of course, to they are saying for us to determine whether to accept the quantity discount or not, we should carry out the different calculations, okay? And they're telling us, one, we should calculate the annual cost without discount, the annual cost of inventory. Then we should calculate the annual cost with the discount. Then we compare the two situations and choose one with the lower cost. Remember, when it comes to the cost you're tracking, in this case, the annual cost you take into consideration all the three costs. The annual price, because it will change, it is affected. You take into consideration the holding cost. You also take into consideration the ordering cost as well. Okay. So once that, you're able to now buying in large consignments, of course, leads us to, of course, enjoy some of the savings. Like we said, a saving purchase price, which will be, let's say, discount. Then we also say the reduction in the ordering costs because fewer orders are placed to take advantage of the discounts. Okay. And we are saying that these savings must, however, be balanced by the increasing holding costs, because the more you order, the more quantities, it means that you're now going to have more costs around warehouse rent, costs around material handling, costs around maybe store keeping salaries, costs around, let's say, obsolescence in case you're holding inventory that can be subject to technology advancement and so on. Okay, so it's pretty important for you to have that considered. And then we have an example here. Like I think you saw, they told us to first calculate the cost of inventory with the discount, okay, without the discount, and then calculate with the discount and compare the two and choose the lower, okay? So we have a scenario here which says that a company uses components at a rate of 500 units per month, which are bought at a total cost of 1.20 from the supplier. They're saying it costs 20 shillings 20 each time to place an order, regardless of the quantity ordered. Okay. The supplier offers a 5% discount on the purchase price for the order of 2,000 items or more. The current EOQ is 1,000 units. Okay. The holding cost is 20% per annum of the value of the stock held. So they're asking us, should the discount be accepted? Okay. Remember what they told us, to establish whether discount should be accepted or not, we should go ahead to use this. Calculate the total cost with this without the discount, and then also calculate the total annual cost with the discount, and then compare the two situations and choose one with the lower cost. Okay. So from that perspective, just try to read through this and see if you can be able to figure out what could be the annual cost. Just to increase the size. Okay. So this is the question. Try to figure out. So I just try to, my battery is running out here. So I just get a cable and I'm able to add there. So just try to read the question and try it out just in the next 2 minutes, and we see if we can read together. All right. Let's first calculate the total cost before before accepting the discount. Okay. So they're saying we use components at a rate of 500 per month, and this about at 1.2 each. Okay. So it means that if we are looking at purchase price, okay, it will be the 500 times the 1.2. Okay, that is the first thing that we are looking at. That will be, that's about 6, yeah, about 600 shillings, okay, that we are incurring in terms of purchase price. The 500 times the 1.2. Okay, now they are telling us that it costs us 20 each time to place an order, regardless of the quantity. And they're telling us that the supplier offers 5% discount on the purchase price for order of quantities of 2,000 items or more. Okay. Then they're also giving us the total EOQ, which is at 100. Okay, 1,000, sorry. And then they're also giving us the total holding costs, which is 20% per annum of the value of stock held. Now, this is what we should do. So we have before discount. So purchase price, we are saying this is the 500 times 1.20, which gets us to 600. Okay. Now let's do the ordering costs. Remember, we have the formula for the ordering costs. And here we're trying to look at total. Okay, just for you to know, these are total ordering costs. Remember our formula for ordering costs that we just did here, which is D over Q times CO. Okay, so it means that when you look at your question, you should be able to get your D. They told us that the company uses 500 units per month, which are bought at 1.2. It costs that and so as. So already what they are telling us that at a rate of 500 units per month, which are bought at 1.2 each from the supplier, it costs 20 shillings each time to place an order, regardless of the quantity ordered. The supplier offers 5% discount on the purchase price for order quantities of 2,000 items or more. They're telling us the current EOQ is at 1,000. The total holding cost per annum of the value of inventory hold. This is the holding cost. Now, when it comes to the ordering costs, like what we are calculating here, as we are saying, we are looking at the demand. Now, for the demand, what we shall use, we shall try to use pick it from this statement here, where they are saying the company uses components at a rate of 500 units per month. Okay, and they are telling us that these are bought in at a total cost of this. Now, if here they have given us our EOQ is actually 1,000, okay? And they have given us what we call our CO, which is so they are saying it costs us 20 shillings to press an order, okay? So this is 20 shillings costing an order. Now, we have the EOQ. We also have we have the cost per order, okay? Now, what we need to be able to determine is how much, of course, how much is our total ordering cost, okay? Now, given the information that we do have, they have not actually given us the demand because they are trying just to give us how much they buy in terms of, okay, the 500 units that they usually do what they usually use every month. So that is what they have basically given us. Now, if we are told we are looking, remember, this is like a year. The 500 they have given us is per month, okay? So if we are trying to look at, for example, our annual cost, okay? Because even when it came here for the holding cost, they have given us per annum. So if they have, let's say 500 units per month, it means our demand will equal to 500 times 12, okay? And 500 times 12, this gives you 6, I think about 6, 6,000, okay? They give 6,000. So 6,000 is like their demand, okay? So if I'm substituting this formula, what this will be, it will be the 6,000 divided by the EO2. Okay, let me just try to do this. The 6,000 divided by the EO2. The EO2 is the quantity, okay, which is 1,000. And then I'm going to multiply this by CO, which is 20, okay? So I'm trying to just demonstrate it like that. So this would mean that up the numerator, I'll have about 12 4 zeros divided by 1,000. Okay, so that is what I'll have. And this would give me, just try to put this would now give me about when I divide this, I'll get 120. Okay, I'll get 120. So this is what I'll be able to get when it comes to my ordering costs. So then I have my holding costs. Now, holding cost from the question is what they said. They said the total holding cost is 20% per annum of the value of stock inventory held. Okay. Now, remember, they're saying that the company uses 500 units per month. Okay, which cost us 1.2. So basically, holding costs just calculate 20% per annum of the stock that is held, which we are going to do. we already calculated 500 times this, but remember, this is only per month, okay? So if we are trying to look at the annual purchase price of our stock, okay, the holding cost, they are saying, they have told us that it is 20%. So this would mean that this would be 20% times the 500 times the 1.20 times the 12, okay? Which gets me to, I'll try to get it here. So this gets me to about 14430. So this will be the holding cost. This is 20%, sorry. I need to include the 20%. This is 20%, which gets me to 1,440. Okay, if you're doing it percentage, this is 20%, just to make sure I do that. So that is what I do have as my holding cost. Okay, so my total cost of inventory, I think, like we said, we are going to add our purchase price or total value of inventory, cost price of inventory. They add the holding cost, and add the ordering cost. Okay, so that is what we are going to basically have. And this would mean the purchase price, the purchase price of our inventory, remember, it is this 600 that we've gotten per month times 12, okay? It is basically the 600 per month we've gotten times 12. The number of months, remember the other one was monthly. Then we should add now the 120, okay? And then add the 1,440, okay? And it is giving us 8,760, okay? So this is what we have. Now we're going to repeat the same thing when it comes to after the discount, okay? So what we are going to do, we're going to look at this question and see. So they are saying, which about that, it costs 20 shillings to place an order regardless of the quantity ordered, okay? They are saying the supplier offers 5% discount on purchase price for order of quantity of 2,000 items or more, okay? Order of 2,000 items or more. So if we are to accept the discount, okay? Remember, we need 500 units per month, okay? We need 500 units per month, and that would mean that for the whole year, we need about 500 times 12, which is about 6,000. So the supplier is offering us 5% discount if we order quantities that are above 2,000. So if we are accepting the discount, just to know that our purchase price will be the 500 times the 1.20 times this, of course, times 6%. Okay. We can either first calculate the discount and subtract, or we just get this and multiply it by 94%. Okay. which gets us to 564. But remember, this is per times 12. So our purchase price will be around this value. Let me just try to so you're able to pick this. Okay. Now I'm saying, remember we used 500 components, okay, per month. When you multiply this by 12, you get the components that are used per year, okay? Then when you multiply this by 1.20, you get the value, okay, of these components, the purchase value, okay? And we are saying that they give us a 6% discount, okay? So what I'm saying is that to calculate this discount, you can first calculate, okay, to calculate the purchase price, you can first calculate the discount and subtract it from the actual price. Or if it's a 6% discount, it's the same thing of me just multiplying this by 94%, okay? Because the 6% is waived as a discount. So that is how my calculation will be, okay? If I want to get the answer to this, I'm getting 676768 as my purchase price when I have the discount. Remember, when we didn't have the discount, what we did, we just basically multiplied this by it was 600 times 12, which was about 7,200, okay, which we used to add here when we were getting the total value of inventory, okay? Now that is what we've gotten. Now if at all we've gotten the purchase price, let's now look at the holding costs. Now remember, when it comes to our holding costs, they told us that the total holding cost is 20% per annum of the value of inventory that is held, okay? Now, in this case, since we are saying that it is 20%, now, in this case, the holding cost is a percentage of the value of inventory that is held, okay? Now, since we have our purchase price to be at, let's say, 1.2, and then they are also telling us that okay, 500 units are used per month. It's much likely that the order will be made once, and this inventory will be held throughout the year, okay? So ideally, they have simplified our work here, because here the holding costs would definitely be let's say will be basically near the same, okay? Because they are telling us that the holding cost is 20% per annum of the value of stock of inventory that is held, okay? So either we have the discount or not, we will still base on the value of inventory that is held, the total value of inventory that is held, okay? So in this case, where we have the discount, this is what is going to happen when it comes to the holding cost. Remember what we just calculated here. They told us it is 20%. Now, in this case, our value of inventory would have gone down because of the discount. So here the holding cost will now be 20% of 6768, okay? Because that is the value of your inventory, and this in the times of discounts, okay? That is why I'm saying it's remaining the same. The percentage is the same, and the inventory is also the same, but in this time the value of the inventory has gone down. So that is what we shall just basically do. Just try to remove these so that you're able to get a transaction trail. Okay. Now, ordering costs. Now, when we have a discount, you know, the discount makes you order more in terms of quantity, okay? Now, they're telling us here that the supplier offers a 5% discount on purchase price for order quantities of above 2,000 items or more, okay? So what we are going to, the assumption we're going to make here is that if we are accepting the discount, we're now going to be ordering 2,000, okay? We're now going to be ordering 2,000 instead of ordering the 1,000 that we were ordering previously, okay? Because we want to get to be able to benefit from the discount. So what shall happen when we're using our formula? Remember our formula, the one we had right here? The formula we had for our ordering cost, D over Q times CO, means that this is what we shall have. It will be the overall demand remains the same, which is the 500 times 12, okay? Now, this is being divided, okay? The demand is being divided by now the new order quantity. We just try to first. So the demand, let me just first calculate this separately so that you understand it much better. The demand will now be, of course, it is 500 times 12 units. That is our demand, okay? And our quantity, our order quantity Q, we are saying that this will be now 2,000. Remember, we want to take consideration of the discount, okay? That is why it is 2,000. Now, the CO remains the same. And because they have told us in the question that despite the 20 shillings per unit to place an order is regardless of the quantity that is ordered. So the 20 shillings remains the same. So the CO is still 20 shillings. So basically what I want to do is to input this information in this formula, okay? Which would mean that it would be 6,000 divided by 2,000, okay? Times the 20. So like this, 6,000 divided by 2,000 times 20. Okay, this is how Excel would show it, which would give me 60. Okay, it would give me 60 at the end of the day. Now, if this is what I do have, I'll go ahead to get my total cost with discount, which will now be, I'm going to add the purchase price, and I'm going to add my holding cost, and I'm going to add my ordering cost, which will get me to 8182, okay? 8182. So mine is to compare with this amount and compare it with this amount, okay? And see, am I better off taking the discount, or I'm better off not accepting the discount? So in this scenario, we are seeing that it's better off to do what? It's better off for us to take the discount, okay? Because with the discount, it's a lower inventory cost compared to when we have the discount, when we don't have the discount. Now, one of the reasons why we've gotten these different answers like this is actually around our holding costs, okay? Just because our holding costs are a value of our stock held, of the value of stock held, that is why it is coming as by that. But there are certain scenarios where the holding cost, of course, would go ahead to use the actual formula of our holding costs, which we already have here, of Q over 2 times our CH, okay? So we could have such scenarios. So in this case, you see that they'll be depending on the scenario, you might actually get more cost when you have a discount, okay? Because your holding cost in that perspective will be getting higher, because remember, you have more inventory in your premise, okay? So if it was not a subject of the value of inventory, then you'll find that this might be higher when you get accept the discount. It might be of the cost might be higher compared to when you don't have the discount. So in that case, you can go ahead to, let's say, okay, somebody's trying to clarify here. Did I pick 6% instead of 5%? Sorry. Oh, okay. Okay. I thought it was 6%. I don't know why I picked 6%. Thank you so much. Let me just try to change that. This should be 95%, since our discount is 5%. Okay. I'd taken 6%. So thank you so much. This would change this amount, just to change this 95%. This remains the same. Okay, this is this will now be 20%. This will change. Six, 8, 40, like that. Okay. And this is not affected. Let's still compare 8268 with 8760. It's the same thing. Okay. So just to answer you, I just noted it wrongly. I'd used 6%. Okay. So the question says 5%. So that is what you would basically use. So I hope that is clear. Thank you for that picking that up. So that is the principle. I believe you've tried to get how to calculate EOQ, either with discount or not discount. There's a question here. I would actually ask you, if you can go ahead to try out this question that I just guided you. This, okay? Try out this question. And then also there's a part 2 of discounts. We also have, we actually have this question. So you can try out this question and see what you're able to get, okay? Maybe if case you get any challenges, then we can basically try to look at, okay? And then I think we can be able to start from there next time. I'm going to share these notes with you, so you can be able to go through. Because of time, may not be able to continue, but yeah, I believe that the class has been at least you've been able to get something. We'll see. I'm trying to think. I don't know what you may think, but I'm trying to think that we may get a second day where we can try to do a catch up, because I've realized we may okay, especially for the revision bit. I'm trying to I may revamp the revision class earlier on that we were trying to do, maybe because we are getting down to October, and there's some classes that I want to hold around revision. So I'll be communicating this. I'm trying to align our timetable to find a perfect day, so that maybe once we have at least revision of the past paper questions in the other class of revision, it helps you to even, of course, develop more confidence even ahead of the exams, okay? And maybe also to create some catch up, so that maybe this can be concentrated. We can concentrate on basically understanding the principles, then able to understand the concepts much better when we are doing the revisions the other side, okay? Yeah, but apologies for the last days that we missed. We'll find ways of how to catch up with this. I thought of doing the recording like I indicated, but I felt I needed to have a live class where you're part of the class, so that in case there's anything that I've talked about, you can be able to ask that. So I'll try to create time for it so that we can be able to progress well. Okay, yeah. So I would love to let you go and wish you all the best in your evening. Okay, unless there's any other question apart from the one that Lucky asks, but I believe it is clear. When you get the notes, it will be much clearer for you. Yeah, inventory is one of those topics that you'll find a bit friendly, especially when you master it. Okay, yeah. So thank you, and